Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you again and learning with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As just mentioned, our presentation tonight is on the theme of the symposium this week, Art, Science, and Mysticism, the Sun's Shadow and the Orientation of Temples. Now, by way of introducing the topic, I'll say that the Rosicrucian studies and exercises and their transmission of the Pythagorean teachings allow us to experience the underlying unity of art, science, and mysticism. The key is the experience of the consciousness of the cosmic, and that is a realization of all in an integrated and a unified manner. As an example, we'll explore the artistic, technological, scientific, mathematical, ceremonial, and mystical aspects of the ancient method of equal altitudes of the sun for the orientation of cities and temples. To begin, we'll have a period of meditation, but I'll introduce it with a work of art, which will actually be on our theme and topic today. You'll see now a most remarkable work of art in textiles. It's an emperor's semi-formal court robe. It dates from around 1790 to 1820, the Common Era. It's a silk tapestry weave, and it's at the Art Institute of Chicago now. It's part of the Qing dynasty. And it's actually a diagram of the universe before us, which is very befitting because we're going to do a mystical exercise shortly, and this will help us get into the mindset for that. In fact, we're looking at a map or a diagram of the universe before us. Yes, it's a robe, but it also has that function with it. To elaborate this some more, I invite you to take a close look at it. You'll see that on various parts of it, there are symbols, which we'll zoom in for you to take a close look at now. There's actually 12 symbols of ancient imperial authority. You know, as past master Raymond Andrea has said that you always need to be vigilant on a lookout for the truth in whatever form that it may take. And each culture and each epoch will have its own way of expressing that truth and that wisdom. To elaborate a little further on these beautiful symbols, they're 12-fold to do with the 12-fold structure of the universe. We've labeled them here for you to see. They actually have to do with different qualities of the emperor and of the cosmos. And the emperor on earth would mirror the emperor of heaven. In a way, each of us is called mystically as we grow and humanity grows and evolves to be our own inner divine sovereign. We Rosicrucians call the master within or the divine within. Each of these from the upper right downward flames, the paradragons, the sun constellation, the axe head, the temple cups, and then going up from the left side, aquatic grass, Wu characters, the moon, the rock, the flowery creature, and the plate of millet. They all have associations with the spring equinox, the autumnal equinox, the summer solstice, and the winter solstice. In fact, the rituals that would take place in the Forbidden City would have different temples or halls associated with those 4 major times of the year. And there would be different robes that the emperor and the empress and certain court officials would wear to be associated with the spring equinox that we're coming into tomorrow, and for those other 3 special junctures of the year. You'll see combined in it, there's a gathering up of the cosmos. In a way, when one wears this, one embodies the cosmos. There's an intimate relationship and harmony with nature and with the celestial and spiritual realm. To continue discussing this theme, let me show you as we prepare for our meditation that on the imperial robe, the court officials at times wear similar ones for the same ceremonies. You'll find, of course, the dragon is a symbol of imperial authority. There's the firmament with clouds. There's also the earth represented by the moons at the coats, 4 directions, and they'd also say the 4 axes, east, west, north, and south, which will be important to the scientific application we'll be discussing tonight. And then there's the universal ocean. Similarly, that is developed even further. So we have on the finite plane, but also we work towards the infinite plane, as the Rosicrucians will say, that there is a great axis that will apply in our meditation. The neck of the jifu, or this robe, is known as the gate of heaven. The wearer, in this case, there'd be the spiritual realm. And the human body in the robe would take or act as the universal axis, aligning the forces of earth with the forces of heaven. Let us pull a variety of these things together that we've just spoken about, and we'll apply these now in our meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your chair, or if you're lying down, or however you're situated. Take a few deep neutral breaths, looking at this spectacular model and diagram of the universe, both on the finite and infinite planes. Cosmic axis, depicted as this vertical line there, will rise up in our meditation shortly. Just take some neutral breaths, either holding the inhalation or holding the exhalation, as you look at the inspiring artwork. Now, one of the very important things to know about this robe is that it takes on its full functionality, or its full action, when the emperor wore it. That would then allow there to be heaven and earth to be working harmoniously together, and that he would ascend and correspond with the emperor of heaven. And by this degree of enlightenment and deep understanding, he could wisely guide people. Similar in our own way, we're called to be of service and to use our own divine sovereign within us, a master within that is linked to the finite and infinite plane and our true guide in life. I invite you now to don this robe, this model of the cosmos. We'll activate the rise on the cosmic axis. Close your eyes now. On the robe. Let us apply the instructions of the key Rosicrucian meditation instructional booklet, Liber 777. First, we'll apply the law of purification. I invite you to say together with me now, may the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities, mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now let us rise up using all our inner psychic faculties and imaginative capacity. Picture yourself rising up from your home or dwelling or building where you're situated now, up over the building now, looking down at it, and even on the neighborhood where you're at, and keep rising up. Following the cosmic axis from the finite plane to the infinite plane, the terrestrial realm to the celestial realm. As you continue up, see below you the town or the village or the city or geographic area where you're situated. And continue to rise and enjoy the exhilaration of the ascent. We'll pass up beyond province or state, or country or nation, go faster and faster. Beyond the continent and hemisphere we dwell, and see the beautiful blue jewel of the earth rotating about its axis, with the moon revolving about it. And let us continue to ascend higher and higher. See yourself encompassing the great ball of light, our solar system, extending out, even encompassing with you at the center, the Milky Way galaxy, continuing with you at the center, encompassing the entire cluster of galaxies, all right, that are local to us. Continue to expand that great ball of light out further and further. Take in local superclusters of galaxies. Let it expand out more and more, taking in all galaxies and superclusters, and now the entire universe. Let us dwell at the center, it's the divine sovereign, center of the cosmos. Spine of our holy temple corresponding to the cosmic axis. Let us dwell for a while. The center of our being, center of the cosmos, the heights of the celestial sanctum. And I invite you on this occasion to have this as your celestial sanctum, the cosmos itself, all about you, as it revolves about the cosmic axis. Just enjoy the expansive view suggestive of consciousness of the cosmic. And let us dwell for a period in the most profound form of peace, referred to as Rosicrucian as peace profound, as we continue to surrender, be receptive to the divine within. Find now the law of silence. Just continue to surrender to the divine within. The center of the cosmos, the center of your being, at one with the one. Now, before we descend from the heights of the celestial sanctum, let us radiate like the divine sovereign, love and well-being to all in need throughout the cosmos. All who have petitioned our Grand Lodge, guidance and healing, and all those, our affiliate bodies, and all those you know of who are in need. Just let the love and well-being flow out from you like a great spotlight or a great fountain, issuing forth water to creation, filling the cosmos for all in need. Enjoy the exhilaration of the flow. Let the divine within take over in activating the flow. We continue to dwell in the consciousness of the cosmic. Soon we'll formally conclude this period of sending metaphysical aid. We'll dwell a while longer at the heights of the celestial sanctum. Sure that the radiations of love and well-being will continue as a way of life on the mystical path for each of us. We'll formally conclude the sending of metaphysical aid. I invite you to say with me, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Let us dwell a while longer, the center of our being. The center of the cosmos. Now we'll start to formally conclude our period of meditation. Remade, rejuvenated, re-energized, rested. All the more ready for the work and worship of the Rosicrucian order and more, fulfilling our mission in life. Let's draw the great spheres in, who's encompassing the cosmos, thus at the center. Draw it in. Great speed, way beyond the speed of light, transcending space and time. Encompass our local supercluster of galaxies. Now our local cluster of galaxies. Now our home, the Milky Way galaxy. And now solar system. As we descend back to the beautiful blue jewel of the earth. Our hemisphere where we left off, the continent, our great nation, country, province or state, continue to descend on our county and city, town or village or geographic area, our neighborhood. Let us say together our prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So mote it be. Let us continue to send on our home, our dwelling, building where we're situated, room, however we're seated or positioned. You wish to stretch, open your eyes. feeling strengthened and integrated, calm. Thank you. Now, following the inspiration of the Emperor's robe, the Divine Sovereign's robe, we'll consider now another application of the cosmic axis. You'll see before you a diagram illustrating one of the what would have been the most common method from the medieval and ancient period, determining the east-west axis, north-south and meridian. The way that it would be done is on a flat surface. One would set up a vertical gnomon, a vertical pole, it could be of various heights, and around it would be drawn, it could be done with a string, for example, a circle. Here it appears like ellipse, but that's just to give us the sense of depth here. Be a circle. And what one would do, one would observe during the day after the sun rises, so we have the sun during the morning here, the sun's shadow would become shorter, would come across and enter inside what's referred to as the Indian circle. At a certain point, it would come to its shortest. G is the base of the gnomon, the vertical pole. C is where it's at its shortest, that's solar noon. And then it would start to lengthen again, and it would then exit here at B, and would continue on its way, its shadow, towards the sunset in the west. Now that point A and B, if you join the line with them, they'll actually give you the east-west axis. But typically in the descriptions in various cultures, the medieval and ancient period, they would describe either constructing the perpendicular bisector of AB, which would go through the gnomon's base G. So you'd bisect the line segment AB. Similar constructions that you could, or the same as Euclid or Luz that you may have learned in high school, or some describe that you would bisect this angle A, G, B. And that would then give you the meridian, the north-south axis. It's a very simple method. It's a very elegant one. Now, it's true that the sun's declination, that is, if you recall from practical astronomy, if you extend the Earth's equator out as an equatorial plane, the celestial equator, the sun's declination or angle above that celestial equator is the declination. That changes, it's true, during the day, which would cause a very minute change in the symmetry of this. But for general sacred and practical applications, this was accurate enough from time immemorial. The Indian circle term was used because one of the derivations of this in the Islamic world was that it was from the Indian sacred texts, such as the Vedas, on building of altars, mandalas, yantras, and temples. Now, you see here we have both art, science, and mysticism at play because we're working with the cosmic axis here. We're working with science and mathematics and astronomy. And it also pertains to art because it's used to create art and architecture. Now, I know some of you are very mathematically inclined, and we're emphasizing science today. You may have been wondering, what is that path, that apex or the tip of the shadow makes away from the gnomon as it moves and forms a locus of points over the course of the day? Well, actually, it can be expressed by this equation. It's an approximate form, but it's extremely close. You may remember from high school that this reminds you a lot of a conic section. You remember parabolas and hyperbolas and ellipses in the special case of a circle? Now, in this formula here on the XY plane, you'll see that the latitude there for the phi, and we'll also see P, which is the polar distance of the sun's co-declination. I just described the declination before. The co-declination is the complementary angle to the declination. That is the distance from the, say, the North Pole to the position of the sun if it's in the Northern Hemisphere. Similar principle for the Southern Hemisphere. It's not to be plus or minus 90 degrees as polar distance. With this formula, depending on these values, the latitude and the polar distance of the sun's cold declination, it will give you different conic sections. Let me show you. Very elegant and very beautiful. So here, G is the base of the gnomon. And with the origin, you recall from your high school mathematics, the ordered pair 0, 0 there. That is actually the apex of the shadow. And the locus of points that the sun's shadow makes over the course of the day, either a hyperbola, parabola, an ellipse, or a circle. Now it depends on where you're situated. If you happen to be at the north or south pole on a particular day when the sun is not setting, you'd find it dramatically that the sun is not setting, so the sun's shadow makes a beautiful circle. At other places in the Arctic Circle, not so far from the north or south pole, if you're in the Antarctic, in the case of the South Pole, you can get an ellipse that will form where G will be on one of the foci of the ellipse. Now, at a certain special place on the Earth, and a parabola can happen. For most of us, you're in the Caribbean or United States or Canada, you'll be seeing a hyperbola. And now if the magnitude of the latitude is less than the magnitude of co-declination, the curve is a hyperbola. But if the latitude is equal to the magnitude of co-declination, the curve is a parabola. You see how these applications from our high school mathematics come back in being a mystical student. Let us continue now. I wanted to show you actual application. Rosicrucians are very practical, and it's often not uncommon in archaeology to reenact earlier traditions. Here on the shores of Lake Huron, I gathered up some sticks that washed from shore. I set up a vertical gnomon, and I placed sticks, smaller sticks, where the sun shadow was over the course of the day. And you can see as we along here, it's actually forming a hyperbola. This is taken the next day, so you can see all the different sticks in there. Off here was actually in the summer. Off here is more towards the west. I also took in place here, there's where the sun set. The sun was setting a considerable distance north at that time of the summer. By doing this type of activity, here's also the diagram here with even more points down. You see again the vertical gnomon and the various points marked during the day. I did the bisection of the angle across. I made various circles, and you can actually average your results from various circles. Sometimes the sun is cloudy at a crucial point, so it's often good to do more than one circle to be more likely to be able to make your crucial measurements just when they enter and exit the Indian circle. I've set up the four. You'll see the four directions here, as well as the west and the setting of the sun. One of the remarkable things of laying this out was like laying out a sacred diagram. In a way, it gave me a feeling of the inner cosmos within myself, as well as be out and as a mesocosm in the sand, but also encompassing the universe. A very profound experience, very much in the same spirit as the emperor's jifu or robe that we looked at earlier. So let's continue on just a little longer before we conclude. And I also wanted to show you another experiment that I did on the shores of Lake Michigan. This is looking to the west. It was right around sunset to set up two poles, and I laid down on the sand, and I aligned those poles with the setting sun. This is very important relationship to what's happening tomorrow with the spring equinox, but also relates to the autumnal or fall equinox. If you set up two vertical poles and you're able to have an unobstructed horizon, particularly both to the east and the west, if you do it on various days, there will come a day when you look towards the sunrise and set up your poles, and then at the sunset, you don't have to move your poles. You'll look back and see the sunset. That means that the poles are aligned with the sunset and the sunrise, and that means they're along the alignment of east-west, and it's the time of the equinox. This was one of the procedures from antiquity. That is, we have texts from, for example, Roman author Pliny talks about this, as well as the learned person in the early Middle Ages, the Venerable Bede, as a way that they determined the east-west alignment, as well as the time of the equinoxes. But the more common method in general was the method of equal altitudes, because you can do that on any day as long as you have sufficient sun. But let us continue a while longer as we build together the concepts of the art, science, and mysticism here. Here's an example with a grad student colleague of mine. We had constructed what's called a Roman groma. It's a Roman surveying instrument from antiquity. It's a pole like the vertical gnomon, and it has a cross on the top of it that swivels with plumb bobs on it. And the cross is at right angles. It mirrors from the Etruscan tradition, the augur that would, before surveying was done, the augur would see inwardly the templum of the sky, and that would descend, and you would help make space sacred and habitable. And there'd be various auguries done. The Romans took up that tradition, and indeed, many of you may have wondered, that is an unusual description in the book of Revelation, for example. The Rosicrucians are not a religion, but we understand the spirituality and depth behind religions and all things. You may have wondered about why John, when he went to the high mountain, he was shown by the angel to measure the temple, and that the heavenly Jerusalem descended. He is a person in the Roman world to be familiar with augury and how surveying was done, that the site to be sacred, the augur would bring the sacred temple of the sky down on earth, so the earth would match heaven, just like we saw in our meditation today and with the emperor's robe. Continuing on this, on the idea of orientation, once you've got the orientation set or the direction set, then you can build, and it's very important to have that direction set well. Now it's true here, I'm showing you Amiens Cathedral with its beautiful nave and its labyrinth design here. Prayer would be done eastward, and you would achieve that by orientating the temple properly. The work and movement and dance on the labyrinth would be done as a movement towards paradise and to Jerusalem in the center, and it had to be properly orientated to do that. Now it's true, some temples, including churches, would sometimes follow their geographic situation, but as much as possible, they'd work towards that east-west alignment. This, for various different reasons, in the Christian tradition, Christ was associated with east, the sun, S-U-N, of justice, and also paradise being the east, and many other reasons. We also can think of this not only in the Christian tradition, but the Hindu mandir. For example, here's a symbolic diagram in the center of the Rosicrucian mandala, and how a Hindu temple would be laid out. They would follow the method of equal altitudes. They mention it in detail. It would also be done for fire altars, mandalas, and yantras. Similarly, we see Buddhist stupas aligned to the four directions, some microcosm of the macrocosm. Here we see the spectacular mandala design of Borobudur in Java. Similarly, with Roman town planning, talked about surveying with the Roman groma, the method of equal altitudes would be applied here at the central space here. They'd form the Carta Maximus and the Decimanus Maximus, which would be the major axes of the east, west, north, south. And then they would do plots, build out plots there with the groma. They would align the right angles for them, and they would take their measurements units out from that in the Roman feet. One of the most common Roman measurement was the pes monetalis, after the goddess Juno Moneta in Rome, after which our term money and monetary come from. And you see they have a numbering system here that's much like a prefiguring Cartesian coordinates in a simplified form. This is the way a Roman castrum, a Roman or cast, I should say, or a camp would be laid out. A Roman city would be laid out, but also for the temples to have their proper orientation. Now, it's true in various traditions of the world, sometimes they'll have different orientations and east, west, north, south. They may want to have like the Qibla direction to Mecca for in the Islamic tradition, but similarly following the heavens and the astronomical phenomena above us. So let us come back before we conclude, back on this simple method that we've described, the method of equal altitudes. You look at the set up a vertical gnomon, watch the sun shadow during the day after you've drawn a circle around the gnomon and see where sun shadow at its apex enters the circle, then moves through over the course of the day. Solar noon, when it becomes its shortest at sea, then moves through here. Now, depending on the time of year and where you are, sometimes this point C, where the solar shortest point of C shortest, may be coincident with G, maybe on the south side or beyond, maybe on the north side. Either way, it will work for you and how large a circle you've done. This vertical axis here ties in with the spine in our body, like the emperor's body, as a microcosm, the macrocosm. The heavens above us are the macrocosm, the temple of the cosmos. So you see tied in this simple action that was done for millennia and is still subscribed today in surveyors' manuals, and for its historic note, that it is something that was sort of as a spiritual exercise. We know that in many cases it was a ritualized procedure, that all of life was spiritualized, that you would proceed in a way that would honor the sacred. At this time, before I do the final conclusion, I'll ask Karen to please paste the resources in the meeting chat for you, and also to please upload the resources as a PDF document in the meeting chat. I think you'll find it easiest to download the PDF. Once it's in there, there's links for various references if you want to follow up some more on this topic, including our meditation methods as well. I'd like to say by way of conclusion then, that the Rosicrucian studies and exercise and their transmission of Pythagorean teachings allow us to experience the underlying unity of art, science, and mysticism. The key is that the experience of the consciousness of the cosmic is a realization of all in an integrated and unified manner. As an example, we've explored the artistic, technological, and scientific, mathematical, and ceremonial and mystical aspects of the ancient method of equal altitudes of the sun for the orientation of cities and temples. And we also conducted a special meditation exercise to experience these matters firsthand and applied various Rosicrucian laws and principles in this sacred and in reading technique. Thank you, everyone.